Hello.
I'm sorry about that. I'm not quite sure what happened. Yeah, we possibly. I haven't. It's my personal link, so anyone who was sent it should have got it. But yeah, I'm not sure whether because it's taken me a while to get online.
It should be. It should be. Unless people are having the same problem that I had, yeah.
Yeah, possibly. I think the other thing I wasn't sure about was what, depending on where people were, what time it was in their local time zone, because there was a couple of American folk, weren't there? But I'm going to send it out anyway as a recording if you're okay to still go ahead with it. Yeah,
fine, absolutely fine.
So yeah, I didn't realize I was on it was our duty week, so I've had to be in the office, which is kiboshed things. Made it really stressful when it shouldn't have been, but anyway, never mind, we've got here.
Okay, yeah, we'll get through it.
Yeah,
and it'll be good. It'll be good. I'm really excited to get this information out to people, and maybe we'll have people joining in along the way. Who knows?
Who knows? Brilliant. So should we start then? Is that okay? So yeah, Natalya, I'm really thrilled to invite you to part 2 of your presentation and masterclass to adopters. I know I got so much positive feedback from the first discussion that we had, so thank you. And anyone who's joining us for part 2, if you haven't seen part 1, there will be a link in the notes. So yeah, welcome. And if you don't mind just introducing yourself for people who haven't joined us previously. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Natalia. I am the founder of the Organic Afro, and I help people to learn how to take care of their natural hair. It's something that I've been doing in terms of like in a community space for the last 7 or 8 years. And I've been natural myself for 17 years. I'm a certified hair practitioner, and I'm also a qualified teacher as well. So I kind of have a knack for making it a bit easier and for communicating that knowledge, that sciencey knowledge, over in a way that makes sense.
So I understand that you're going to talk about styling and alopecia today, which I know is an issue for lots of women that I know, certainly. So I'm really interested to hear about that.
Perfect. Well, shall we get started? I am going to just let's see if I can make this presentation. I'm a co-host now, that's fab, which means that I should be able to share screen. Share screen. This one. Cool. Enter full screen share mode. Great. All right. So here we are. We are live at the moment, but you're probably watching a replay for caring for your little one's natural. It says natura, but it should say natural hair. That's my bad. And it's part 2. And we're looking at alopecia and styling because alopecia is something that is, rising in numbers across the board, especially prevalent among the Black community. And there are a few reasons why. Very culturally ingrained as well, from the practices that are actually, sort of making this condition get triggered and also increasing the numbers across the board. So first of all, like last time, I do want to congratulate you for investing your time into your young ones' hair care, because this is setting them up for life in a really positive way. I teach people how to care for natural hair without the struggle. So you don't have to get lost in the rabbit hole, and you don't have to get overwhelmed, and you don't have to get frustrated. I literally lay it all out in a way that makes sense, and that's based in science. So I just wanted to, this is a really recent success story from just a live that I did last week. And one of the people in the group, because I do a kind of bi-weekly live in there answering questions, and one of the moms in the group said, I just wanted to say, whilst I'm here, my daughter's hair is beginning to retain her length and the bald areas are beginning to fill out. I didn't manage to buy the recommended products, that's fine, but she's been more mindful about increased moisture, and after approximately a month of being consistent, her daughter's now more relaxed, and this is a ritual now. So really, hair care is an opportunity to have really special moments of bonding and to increase the access to self-love and self-care and those kind of rituals. So it's a really great way to spend time together and also to learn about ourselves. So a little bit more about me. I'm South African born, I'm South African Mauritian. You can say multiracial to the cows come home, because South Africa was a part of like loads of trade routes. I grew up in Australia. I live in London now. And I really hated my hair when I was growing up. Like I really, really hated it with a passion. I wanted to take a pill to make it straight. I used all the chemicals and all the products and all the blow dryers and hair tongs and everything just to make it everything that it wasn't, until I started questioning myself. And really, I realized that this hatred for the self, the way I was hating myself, really came out of apartheid, because hair would really limit you. If you had tightly coiled hair or, you know, afro hair, you were given less opportunities. You were taken out of resource schools and put in less resource schools. So it's like this deep that it ran, you know, and I've come out of that, and now I'm helping other people do that as well. So I spoke a little bit about the Organic Afro community, and I'm on a mission to decolonize and liberate beauty through celebration, education, and empowerment. So I've worked in the beauty industry, the Black hair industry, and as I said before, I'm a certified hair practitioner with the International Association of Trichologists.
Wow.
So yeah, that's just a little bit about my background, but basically I just like to make all of this stuff really easily accessible to everyone. And if you have been having challenges with your child's hair, it's okay, because most of us have learnt techniques that aren't actually useful for afro or curly hair. And if you've been confused or frustrated, that's also okay, because there is loads of misinformation out there about this topic. So today we're going to be covering alopecia, styles, tips for styling with toddlers, and just kids in general, and tools and products as well. So let's start on alopecia. It's really important to know that alopecia is partial or complete absence of hair from areas of the body where it grows. So it's hair loss and baldness. It can be temporary or it can be permanent. So it could be stress related or it could be genetic, for example. Common forms found in Black women in particular, traction alopecia, chemical burns, and centrifugal cicatricial alopecia as well. We'll go into those a little bit more as we move on. So what causes alopecia? It can be, you can have temporary causes, which, like I said before, stress, hormonal imbalances, nutritional imbalances, medical treatments, exposure to toxins, and even birth can lead to temporary loss of hair. And some people can lose it in patches. I've even had someone in a community had their daughter actually lost all of her hair when her parents were going through a divorce. So there's that stress element again. And traumatic, there's this pattern of, if you've experienced a traumatic event, that can also lead about like a few months later to loss of hair. So it can happen in patches, or it could be literally the whole head. But it will, in the temporary cases, it will grow back once you've recovered the hormone balance and nutritional balance and stopped the exposure to toxins, etc. In terms of permanent alopecia, it can be, like I said before, caused by chemical relaxers, burns, repetitive styling, and then there's also genetics, where it's literally just the genetics tell the follicle where hair gets produced that they're not going to be making any more hair. In terms of the chemical relaxers, the burns, and repetitive styling, that's something that we can do about. So the genetics, we might not be able to completely, do everything to stop that happening, especially if it's just, the genes telling, switching off. But there has been evidence in reports showing that if we're using repetitive styling and we're using additional hair and wigs and weaves and things like that, that can actually also lead to early triggering of these genetic disorders as well. So in terms of, chemical relaxers, it's kind of obvious. If you leave those chemicals on your scalp for too long, you're going to end up damaging the follicles. Also, repeated use of these chemicals, burns from using heating tongs, combs, and blow dryers and things like that can also lead to alopecia. and repetitive styling. So it's using the same styles over and over again, but actually puts the tension in the same areas over and over again. A really common reference for this is, I'm not sure if you've seen ballerinas, but often because ballerinas are made to, wear their hair tightly back during their training for many, many years. So this is, 15 years leading up to a 10-year career, 15-year career, that's 30 years of wearing your hair back. Ballerinas often have alopecia on the edges of their hair, where they have a receding hairline and the front of their hair is breaking from repetitive styling. So that's from their work environment. So how to avoid alopecia? Yes, healthy, balanced diet. And we know that we're always trying to do our best to get our kids to eat well. Encouraging self-care practices and having that esteem in knowing that their hair is beautiful and that the practice of actually caring for their hair is actually a good and fun and beautiful part of their life. And also, avoiding damaging hair practices such as chemical straighteners, reliance on heat styling, tight and repetitive styling, and long-term styling with synthetic or additional hair. So I say additional hair as well, because I've had people who said to me, oh, but I'm going to be using human hair. When I put my extensions in, I'm going to get really good quality human hair. It doesn't matter whether it's horse hair, plant material, because there actually are extensions. There are loads of plant-based extensions now, which is great because it means less plastic out in the ocean and things like that. However, it doesn't matter what material it is, even it's the fact that it's additional hair that's being added and adding weight to your hair, which is then pulling on the follicle that's causing the damage. So I had someone saying, yeah, okay, cool, I'm going to get knotless braids and I'm going to do it with human hair. And then they came back to me saying, oh my gosh, like I lost so much hair. I don't know what to do. And we just want to prevent that. It doesn't need to go to that point. So protective styling, what is it? It's a style that protects your hair from the elements. It allows you to protect the ends of your hair, and it's gentle on your scalp. So it doesn't prevent you from washing your hair as well. And it doesn't use heat. Now, I'll go into that heat bit in a moment, but it isn't a style that is kept in your hair for longer than 4 weeks. It isn't a style that hurts or is too tight to actually put in. It doesn't use additional hair, and it isn't a style that uses additional hair. And it doesn't prevent you from washing your hair at the very least once a month. And I say at the very least because we should be washing our hair at least every 10 days. But if you watched the first presentation, you would already know that answer. So in terms of it doesn't use heat, I put this in here because I know loads and loads of stylists like to blow dry or tong the hair first before putting in braids and things like that, but it's completely unnecessary. Like yeah, it's so unnecessary because you're still going to do the same thing. Yeah, it frustrates me because it's just an added step and added damage that we don't need. So if you do go to a stylist and you do ask to get, some braids done without any additional hair, ask them to not use heat if that's the situation. I just also wanted to say another quick thing about synthetic hair. So synthetic hair is coated in chemicals, and it's a really, really good idea if you are choosing to wear a temporary synthetic hairstyle. If your child really wants to have this look for a very short amount of time, then do make sure that you wash the hair first. If it's synthetic hair, wash it first because it does irritate the scalp. So just be mindful of that. So what are some protective styles? We have plaits and braids. So you can see you can do these in different ways. Like in the top corner here, you've got like individual braids done in like a box fashion. So you're using like boxes, little paths of boxes to part the hair, which is great. You can also do like, you can get fancy and do, some people do triangles or stars and stuff like that. Loads of fun. The thing to remember here is that we are taking the pressure on those where the paths are. That's where all the pressure is going, if you're tying up the hair, or if your kid's running around and things like that. So we want to make sure that when we're doing that style, we're also rotating the parts, because we want to make sure that the pressure isn't going to be on the same parts over and over again. You can do chunky, you can do small ones, you can even like combine different styles. So this is actually some twists here, and then you've got some looks like they've actually flat twisted or cane rode the top bit and then plaited it out. It's a bit technical for those who are beginning, but the main point that I wanted to show is that you don't have to just do like a plait or a twist. I'll show you what twists are. You can really get creative, and by having kind of these bigger chunks here, what they've done is they've taken a bigger area of hair, put in a little hair tie, which is underneath this bauble, and then they've actually used the hair that's coming out of that section to then twist. So it's kind of saving a little bit of time because you're not doing individual twists. Yeah, so you've got like bigger plaits here, really easy to do. Plaits, most of us have kind of basic plait skills. So it's something that you can pretty much go forward with doing. And then here, once again, they've just done like 3 sections of the hair, front, middle, and back, and then they've tied it up, and then they've just made plaits out of the remaining hair that's coming out of the ponytail. So 2-strand twists, while they seem like, oh my gosh, they look like they are some, crazy style that might be difficult to do, they're actually easier to do than plaits. They take less time, and I'm a huge fan of them. Also, I wanted to note that these styles are, what's really cool is that the styles are gender neutral. So you can wear these styles on, on your little boy or little girl or whatever they like to call themselves. There's no actual gender to the style, so you can just like make it however the child likes to wear it. So here we've got a whole head of small 2-strand twists, and we've got a really happy little toddler kid there. And then we've also got some bigger, you've got some medium and then larger 2-strand twists. And you can see like larger sections, and you can also see here they've used the same technique where they've divided the hair in half, and then they've twisted what comes out of the ponytails. And this is protecting the hair because it's actually what we're doing with the twist and with the plaits as well is that we're keeping the strands together. And when the form is together, when it's held together, think about the strength in a rope. You can, individual strands wouldn't be able to pull a truck, but with a nicely secured rope where the strands are twisted together, you could pull, you've got more strength there in pulling. So, kids are usually pretty active. And they like, they will be doing things, and their hair will be, floating around doing, all of the fun things that kids get up to, and the hair will be along the ride for that. So that's what's really important about using these plaits and 2-strand twist styles, is the fact that it's holding the form, and then you can also pin those styles up and you can put them into buns. And so you can have sort of different looks during the week, but just with the same base hairstyle. So that's what I really love people to get into with protective styles, is that you can make a base style like your twist or your plait, and then you can put it up in a ponytail, and then they can maybe put 2 pigtails in, and then they can sort of have a little bit more ownership of their hair, and it's more of like a celebration of what they feel like on the day, instead of having to try to re-moisturize the hair or refresh refresh the curls. And we know that with humidity and kids, putting things, putting sand in the hair and things like that, it can get like a little stressful and knotty, because that's the thing as well. Kids' hair can get really knotty and then you end up spending more time combing out. But with these styles in particular, you're not spending so much time on the combing out, and the pre-poo, which we went through in the previous session, will be much easier, because you're not going to be getting, the hair's not going to be as tangled, right? What's another style? Let's have a look. So flat twists. Now, if you've gotten used to the twists and you kind of want to try something different, this is actually a cane row style or a cornrow style, but I just wanted to put it in there so you could see kind of the similarity between what it looks like. So a flat twist is really taking the hair and in each section, and I actually teach this in my protective styling course, but it's adding the hair and then continuing the tension to twist it around. And it's just so versatile, and you can do loads of things. And all you need is like maybe, I don't know, 4 inches of hair. You can see that you don't need to have the longest hair to make really cute styles with these. And the parting is endless. You can do all sorts of things.
That's really impressive, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to do so many. You can literally do, if you can treat them like, Dutch braids. Like if you do 2, you could do 2, or you could do 4. I really do advise to start off with things that are less ambitious than these at first, so that you can get used to the technique. But yeah, starting off with 2, 3, 4, and then once you've got the technique, then you can sort of move forward and go into, smaller details and different parts and things like that. You don't have to go all out in the beginning, because it is a process, and it's not going to be, the first time you do it, it's going to look very different to the 10th time you do it. And this is something that people need to understand as well. Like when I give tips, even to adults, they're like, oh, like my twist out didn't work properly. I'm like, is it the first time you've done it? Yes. Are you comparing yourself to an Instagram model? Yes. Okay, cool. Let's remind ourselves this is all a journey, and it's okay if it doesn't look like these pictures the first time you try. So yeah, once again, and like I said before, you can really do like 4 cane rows or cornrows, and then like do up styles. These are some, little bit of hair there on that little bubba. Loads of hair here, and they're being styled, into a pretty little ponytail with the flower there. And there's that same picture with the very advanced parting and fed braid there, which very ambitious. But this is literally, if you have fun with it, you can find really fun things to do. And ways that you prefer to do it. You might not even want to do cane rows or cornrows. Like you might just be like, nah, I really like flat twists, or I just like twists, and that's fine. What it's really great to do is to find 2 or 3 styles, probably 3 or 4 to rotate through. So we're not putting the tension in the same places. These are finger coils, and if you have a little bit of time, or that the kid is feeling chilled and enjoying the process, you can take a little bit more time and do individual finger coils. So they're literally using, taking little sections once again, but really little sections, and working a product and twisting along. So these have got some holding product in them to hold them in for long. They're not the most protective style, because the hair is probably going to see how this is probably a little going looser, because it's probably a few days in, but they are really, really pretty. And it's a great way to celebrate the hair. At least it's, it's keeping form, as you can see, like it's keeping the form of the hair. So that's really good. And it also means that you won't have to be like redoing the hair all the time. You can, maybe do a touch up on the 3rd day, depending on how active and sweaty the little one has been. So let's have a look at some styling tips. So styling on damp and moisturized hair is essential. It'll make the hair much more easier to manipulate. And we want to be doing, like, we just want to make sure that the hair is moisturized, because unmoisturized hair can lead to split ends. And if you can't, because it's really difficult sometimes to see split ends, they can actually travel up to the root of the hair. And then once again, you've got alopecia, you've got hair loss. So that's what can happen. And it can happen really quickly, because you might not realize what's happening in the hair if you don't, if you haven't been able to learn about these things. So it's just a note there that the moisturizing is really important. And like I said in the previous session, the liquid, cream and oil method works really well for this. Once again, I'm the Organic Afro, so natural products all the way. They're easier to wash out, so it makes wash time less stressful, less knotty. I limit the use of gel generally, like for a year and a half, I didn't use any gel in my hair. I just used a good moisturizing cream and like moisturized my hair with a cream and an oil. And I got by just fine. I have professional work. I've had meetings and no one fired me. I didn't, because like there's this whole thing about, having gelled, having a gelled edges, which then like leads to, baby hairs being broken, and that causes alopecia as well. Loads of people have come to me saying, I just want to grow my edges back. And like trying to keep the style for a few days at least, so that it means that you're not having to manipulate and reset the hair all the time, because that additional manipulation is sort of unnecessary. Even though I know like we've been made to feel like our hair has to look a certain way all the time, or we're supposed to have one style and that's how it look. That's completely rubbish, because that's not how nature works. So we want to try to keep the style. Some people, some kids can keep their hair in for 7 days. Some kids, it's gonna need some, reworking in between that time, and it's okay. It's just, you will see how your kid plays out with different styles. So for sensitive scalps, and I'm one of these people, so I know exactly how it feels. You can ask the child to hold the braid or the twist or whatever you're doing, like at the roots, while you're doing the actual like manipulation of the hair. That will take the pressure off, and you can do the same thing with when you're combing out the hair as well. I mentioned it in the previous session. So if you're using rubber or plastic bands, always oil them first, so that they don't rub on the hair, because there's loads of movement happening in kids' lives, and that movement can also, and in adults as well, if you're using these, always oil them, because it's going to be rubbing against the hair and it can create fractures as well in the hair, and then you end up having more breakage. If you like to style or with the baubles and the the little like clips and things like that, try not to leave them in overnight, because they can once again like cause the friction on the hair. You can add them in the morning before they go to the park or go to school, depending on what they like. And I also say limit the use of beads, because the weight, once again, I'm really conscious about putting additional weight on, and pulling from the follicle. So if it's a special occasion, go ahead. If you're going to have beads in, maybe for a couple of weeks, it's fine. But once again, it's that added weight. So in terms of styling as well, make sure not to brush too hard. The hair doesn't need to always sit flat on the scalp. Like, kids are kids, they're allowed to be free, and their hair will detect moisture in the air, and it will get frizzy and it will poke up, and that's fine. It doesn't need to always be controlled. although my mum would probably say otherwise.
Mine too.
Yeah. So always comb from the bottom upwards, and aim for a rotation of 2 or 3 styles. I mean, if you're starting off, you probably get 1 style and 2 styles. So you're going to rotate between 2, and then you'll get used to those. And then you can start adding more into your repertoire. I find that it's really helpful to read books about children's hair and their hairstyling to them, because then they kind of understand that it's something that's, you know, it's a part of life and it's exciting, and that there's lots to choose from, and it's actually a really fun thing to get your hair done and to be sitting with mum and dad getting their hair done. There are a few books out. I know Conscious Dreams Publishing have a few different books on black hair. There's one about styling, and then there's another one that's about wash day, and hair textures in general. Because if you're like me and you grew up in a very Eurocentric space, then it can be confusing looking at other kids and then seeing your hair and feeling like there's something wrong with you because it doesn't look the same. But by representation is everything. Yeah. And by them seeing and reading and watching cartoons and things with these different textures, it will help them to realize that their hair is just as beautiful, it's just different, right? I think that's a really important part of the whole, concept of styling for children. It's also important to make the space comfortable. So, you want to grab some comfy cushions. If they're sitting on the floor, make sure the chair's not, too hard. And also, putting on their favorite cartoon or film gives you a chance as well to kind of bond on something that they really like. And then that can also distract them from wanting to run around and go outside and play. I mean, you can also do their hair outside, give them a toy to preoccupy them. But most importantly, it's really a special bonding time that once they become, late teens, you're probably not going to have for a while until they realize, oh, hey, I can ask mom or dad to do my hair again. That'll be fun. So, as a child, it's just a really sacred ritual to be able to spend that time together. I think it's just something that's really beautiful.
I think it absolutely is, but you sort of, as an adult, need to go into that headspace of it being like that. Because even with our kids, it can be quite stressful, and if you're not feeling very confident, I think, and then the child picks up your stress and it all goes horribly wrong. So I think it's really helpful to think consciously, how am I going to make this nice space and comfortable space and space that we can enjoy?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, if you're freaking out, they're going to be freaking out, and then it's just not going to be a fun, enjoyable experience. I know for I've worked with kids who are on the spectrum, so they're autistic, and for them it was anything that would be ritualistic, so anything that would be a repeated process that they really needed to get their head around, it would be like, okay, cool, we're gonna read your book about washing hair. You're gonna tell me what happens when you wash our hair. Why do we wash our hair? Cool. Are we ready to wash our hair today? Cool. Let's do this together. Are you ready to make, are we going to have fun? How should we make it fun? Should we have a snack before, or, making it into this kind of fluid experience that isn't oh my God, now I'm going to have to sit here for 2 hours, which is not going to happen, especially if you it might take 2 hours maybe in the beginning when you're figuring out what to do, but it's a really great place to start from, smaller sections. If you've got loads of hair that you're working with, just start with smaller sections, divide the hair in half, then half it again. And if it's a lot to work with still, then half it again. You just need to find the way that's going to make it easier for you and more enjoyable for your little one as well, and you will get there. it takes practice, but you will get there, and it will start becoming just like the lady in the success story that we went through in the beginning. She said now they're both relaxed, so it's a much more enjoyable ritual, and they can also look forward to it because it's, you know, spending time together. I think, whoops. Yeah. So tools, right? So I'm suggesting tools for twisting, but basically they can be used for most of the styles that you're going to be doing. Like I said before, the misting spray bottle is really important because it's not going to make the hair like super wet. It's just going to put a little bit of dampness so that the hair will be more easy to manipulate. Your fingers, of course, this is really important. If you are handling hair, make sure that you have trimmed your nails or filed them so that they're not fracturing. Any hang nails or any sharp nails aren't actually fracturing the hair and creating more damage. A wide tooth comb. I love my vulcanized rubber comb. It has literally reduced my comb out time substantially, and everyone who has ever tried it from my programs has fallen in love. Like, it's great. You can use a comb for parting. You can also use just this sounds ridiculous, but trust me, it works. Like, you know, the blunt end of a skewer, like, you know, some skewer, you can use that for parting as well. Small hair ties. You can also, I really am a huge fan of like the silk, the hair ties that have silk around them, because they have create less damage through less friction. And you can also get a diffuser that you attach to your hair dryer. If you're in, you know, if you're in a winter environment or it's really cold, it'll just help you to dry the hair so your kid's not running around with wet hair, because that's never fun. And then in terms of the products, so if you're dealing with thick, kinky, tight, coily hair, they might actually take better to moisturizing with both the cream and oil, and you can use a styling butter that does that as well. If you're working with thinner hair that's kinky and still kind of coily, or it's, you know, it's not like super thick hair basically, you can use a light moisturizing cream. You're probably looking for something that it's a bit more liquidy than buttery, if that makes sense to you. Or for styling, you could be looking at a styling souffle. So that's like a whipped, really light kind of, it'll feel like a whipped cream kind of product. And they often are called styling souffles as well. So it's not like I've just made up the term. Souffle is a lighter kind of styling product. Then if you've got more loose coily hair that you're working with, you can also use the styling souffle. And for the moisturizing, you can leave out the moisturizing cream and just try a light oil. Something like grapeseed or jojoba are fantastic for this. But you'd probably want to be focusing on the ends as well, depending on, like, if you're really going towards the kind of wavy, more wavy than coily, you probably just want to be focusing on the ends, because chances are the natural sebums will actually flow down the body of the hair. Whereas when you've got tighter kinks and coils, the sebum doesn't have an opportunity to, use gravity and go down the whole length of the hair. So that is that. Oh yes, this is what I said this last time, but I'm going to say it again because it's just so apt, that if we give our children sound self-love, they will be able to deal with whatever life puts before them by the wonderful bell hooks. That's what she said on parenting. So having these rituals and having this self-care practice is really important to their quality of self-esteem growing up and their confidence. I really wish that I had more confidence in myself you know, from the ages, I think, of 7, you know, I really started to feel like I wasn't enough because I didn't look like everyone around me. And unfortunately, that means that just for a long time, it ended up in me really becoming a people pleaser and working 10 times harder than everyone else. And, you know, everyone's like, yeah, good work ethic is a good thing. It is. But when, you know, you're really kind of concerned if you don't, you know, really upset if you don't get, get, you know, the best marks and things like that, because you're trying to kind of overcompensate for the low self-esteem, it can become problematic. And I know that a lot of that kind of programming is something that we need to be working on every day. I myself am actually, you know, I'm a part of a decolonial program where I'm actually learning to shed these Eurocentric standards and doing more work to undo that, you know, heal and just undo that programming, because it turns up in ways that you really do not expect. And if we, you know, we're changing that narrative from a young age, then the world is just going to be a better place for everyone, because we're going to have more confident people doing what they love, loving other people. And what more can we ask for? Like, it's literally in these simple acts and ways of living that we get to make the change, the greatest changes. So it's all in your hands.
No, that's totally true. And I think, you know, there's so many different layers of our children's experience that we can mitigate if we're really thoughtful about it. And yeah, which is really exciting, I think, as well.
It's so exciting because I feel like we are often made to feel like, oh my gosh, look at the state of the world. Like, just literally, you know, we've continually been bombarded with just horrible things that are happening. And not to say that it's not horrible that they're happening, but because it is, but like, it often feels like, what can I do? Like, what, you know, I'm not a powerful person. I don't have influence. I can't change the world. And we can't change the world, but we can change what we do in our worlds. And we can help other people to be more of themselves and to love themselves. And that spills over into the community for everyone to enjoy. And that's really the level that people, you know, that we need to be focusing on, because it's, you know, these big picture things, we don't control the big picture things, because that's not where we are. Some of us do. I don't know who's watching this. You might be in government and you do control big picture things. That's great. But it really does start with us. And that's exactly actually why I started the Organic Afro community. And I'm also opening the private membership, the Organic Afro Circle, at the end of this month. The doors will be open. So if that's something that you're interested in, I will be helping people through a platform off Facebook that is going to be less problematic and more having more connection for us to really do the deeper work and to answer all your questions and have, you know, the Zoom calls and all of those things with learning materials. Do get in touch. That's, yeah, the founding member round is opening at the end of May. So I would really love for you to get in touch about that. And I also do one-to-one hair coaching. I do group workshops and programs. And obviously there's the Organic Afro community, which is the free support group. If you haven't already joined there, definitely get on there, ask your questions away. There's also an anonymous question format. So if you aren't confident about, you know, sharing your name and things like that, that's fine. You can post anonymously. And I do a live in there every other Tuesday. So I go through those questions in there. But yeah, everyone's just doing such an amazing job. And the thirst for knowledge that's, you know, that I've seen through your group, Yoni, is just, it really fills my heart with joy, because I know that these young people are going to be so well equipped for facing the world throughout their stages of development. So yeah, it's exciting time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's an enthusiasm to learn more that we can just build on. And and I've certainly learned a lot, although obviously I was transracially adopted, but I'm also been part of an African family for 25 years, and yet there's lots of things that I've learned. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, like, this is what it's all about. This is literally like why I do this work, and this is how we make change. So
absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing your experience, and I'm sure that people watching this either live or on the replay